We all have secrets. What is yours? Silent Secrets Audio. Confess in the comments.
The first sign someone had been inside my house was that my truck had more fuel than I remembered putting in it. I'm posting this anonymously from a fishing community on the northeast coast of Newfoundland. I won't name it because the person responsible still has relatives here, and everyone knows what everyone else drives. I was 38 and worked split shifts at a seafood processing plant. During capelin season, I left home at 4:40 in the morning, returned around noon, slept for 3 hours, then went back for the evening cleanup. My house was a narrow salt box rental near the harbor. The landlord lived in Alberta. I paid the hydro bill, cleared the ice from the old tank line, and kept the only garage remote clipped inside my work bag. Nothing about my routine changed, but small things began correcting themselves. My recycling went out on the proper Thursday. A burned porch bulb was replaced. The passenger side mirror on my truck, which I always folded against the wind, was open. I blamed exhaustion until I found a receipt under the driver's seat from a gas station 12 kilometers away. It showed $30 of regular fuel purchased at 9:16 on a Tuesday morning. At 9:16, I had been trimming cod on line 3. My truck should have been parked behind the plant, where the gulls gathered near the waste bins. I checked the employee lot camera with the shift supervisor. The truck had left at 8:52 and returned 40 minutes later. The driver wore my orange rain jacket and kept their face turned away. The keys were still in my locker. At least, they appeared to be. The plastic tag on my spare looked newer than the others, and one tooth had a bright mark where the metal had recently been cut. I started taking both sets into the processing room, sealed inside a freezer bag beneath my apron. 2 mornings later, my truck did not move. Instead, someone entered my house while I was working. They washed one coffee mug, placed it upside down beside the sink, and left a damp crescent on the counter. I never stored mugs upside down. The RCMP officer who came by found no forced entry. He suggested the landlord might have given a contractor a key. The landlord denied it and emailed me a photograph of the 2 registered copies hanging in his office. I changed the deadbolt myself with a kit from the hardware aisle at the local building supply store. That night, I wedged a folded Canada Post flyer between the door and frame. It was still there the next morning, but when I returned after lunch, the kitchen radio was tuned to the marine forecast, and a chair had been positioned beneath the ceiling vent. I stopped sleeping at home. For 4 nights, I stayed with a coworker across the bay. On the 5th, I parked behind the closed community hall and watched my house from her brother's skidoo trailer. At 5:27 a.m., just after the municipal plow passed, a white home care vehicle pulled into my driveway. The driver wore a reflective jacket and carried a plastic medication case. She unlocked my front door without hesitation. I followed her inside and found a man sitting at my kitchen table. He was my older cousin Aaron, someone I had not spoken to in 6 years. He had been convicted of stealing checks from 2 elderly clients while working maintenance at an assisted living complex. He looked thinner, but calm. On the table were photocopies of my work schedule, hydro statements, my vehicle registration, and a handwritten list of when I showered, bought groceries, and walked to the harbor office to collect parcels. The woman fled before police arrived. Aaron claimed my mother had asked him to check on the property because she believed I was not coping. That part was almost true. My mother had secretly added him as an approved helper with the regional home support agency, using paperwork from my father's final illness. She gave him copies of my identification, told the agency I had memory problems, and signed a consent form authorizing welfare visits. She said she wanted Aaron employed again and thought giving him access to my routine would make him feel useful. She knew about his theft conviction. She did not know he had been using the home care vehicle after hours, or taking my truck to learn which roads I used. Police found no weapon. They found blank tenancy forms, photographs of my signature, and an application for a replacement vehicle registration. Aaron had been preparing to make it look as though I had moved away and sold him the truck. What frightened me most was the notebook recovered from his room. Besides several dates, he had written practice absence. Those were the nights I stayed across the bay. He had known the house was empty because my mother was reporting where I slept. I moved 3 weeks later. I changed banks, phone providers, and emergency contacts. My mother still insists she made a paperwork mistake. Last winter, a former coworker messaged me after seeing someone drive slowly past the processing plant in my old orange rain jacket. I had thrown that jacket into a donation bin before leaving town.